Hello guys and welcome back to our channel. Today again we're gonna talk about decompression sickness in freediving. I did the video about decompression sickness in freediving a couple of months ago where I covered like a general information about decompression sickness and also like when sometimes decompression sickness can be an issue for the freedivers. So if you haven't seen this video, check it out. The link is going to be here and also I'm going to put it in the description. However, I noticed that I miss one important point, and this is why I decided to do, let's call it, second part of decompression sickness in freediving. But before we start, if you're new to this channel, make sure that you subscribe to this channel because you're going to find a lot of useful information which is going to help you to become a better and safer freediver. If you already did it, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay, decompression sickness in freediving. What we was talking last time, there is a few common ways how freediver can get decompression sickness. So first, if it is a long spearfishing session, if you do a spearfishing for 4, 5, 6 hours, then more likely you're gonna get tired, more likely you're gonna get dehydrated and maybe also get cold, and then all of this can lead to the decompression sickness, probably type 1. Another one is a short surface interval. It happens when, for example, you decide to do some kind of CO2 table in the ocean, when you do relatively short surface interval between your dives. So this potentially can lead to the decompression sickness, probably type 2. And then extreme depths, we was talking last time that this is a more concern for the people who do such discipline as no limits or maybe even variable weights. So in this case, people tend to dive really extremely deep. So it's maybe 150, some people do 200 meters, crazy deep. In these cases, there is a chance to get decompression sickness as well. And what I failed to mention last time, that there is one more way how some freediver can get decompression sickness. Unfortunately, it is when someone doing too many deep dives. And in this case, it's not like extremely deep dives as here, like when someone doing no limits, let's say, but let's say the depths which is relatively safe if you do it like once. But it's becoming much more dangerous if you repeat such dives. So for example, if someone have a maximum, let's say 70 meters, and then such person decide to do, let's say, 3 times 60 in one session. So in this case, even if surface interval is relatively long, let's say 10 minutes, there is a chance to have a decompression sickness. Why? Because as you remember from my first video, we have different tissues in our body which accumulate nitrogen with a different speed. So let's say, for example, there is a slow tissues which accumulate nitrogen slowly, but they also release nitrogen slowly. So let's say if you do 60-meter dive, and then this slow tissue is going to accumulate some nitrogen, and then if you're going to do even, let's say, 10-minute surface interval, there is a chance that you're going to start your next dive with still some residual nitrogen in your body. And then if you maybe going to do it one more time, then there is going to be a risk of decompression sickness. Unfortunately, for this reason, there is no definition what is a deep dive. So some people gonna think that maybe it is deeper than 50 meters, some people gonna think that it's maybe going deeper than 70 meters, so it's kind of subjective. So for example, if you are a freediver who diving to 100 meters, then maybe 70 meters doesn't sound too deep for you, and then you're gonna think, oh, okay, for sure I can do like 3 times 70. And then of course if you're diving to 30 meters, maybe even 25 meters sounds really deep for you. So what is my personal approach, which I consider relatively safe? If I'm diving deeper than 40 meters, then it's going to be one such dive per session. So for example, if I'm doing 30, 35 meters, even 40-meter dives, then I'm going to do maybe a few dives like this. So for example, maybe I'm going to do like 5 times 30 or 4 times 30 with a like long break in between. If I do 40-meter dives, so maybe it's going to be a couple of times 40 with a long breaks in between. But if I'm gonna do like 45, 50, 60, 70 meter dive, then it's gonna be only one such deep dive per session. The rest of the session is going to be some technical works, so maybe it's going to be working on my free fall with like exhale dives, or like different other types. Maybe I'm going to work on my no fins technique, whatever. But the deep dive for me is going to be only one. So in this case, you reduce significantly the chance of decompression sickness, because again, if you do only one dive, only one deep dive, the chances of decompression sickness, even if you're diving, let's say 80, 90, 100 meters, the chances of decompression sickness is relatively small. I mean, obviously the deeper you go, the higher the chance, but if you're diving less than 100, and I guess majority of my viewers is diving less than 100, then it's relatively safe, at least what we see from like a deep free divers, to do one dives. However, if you do like much shallow, let's say 50 meter dives, but you're going to repeat it a few times per session, then the chances of decompression sickness is higher. So guys, the bottom line, if you're diving deeper than 40 meters, in my opinion, it should be only one such dive per session. If you're diving shallow, then maybe you can do like, make sure you're not doing the short surface interval, make sure you surface interval like 3-4 times longer compare your dive time, then maybe you're gonna do a few dives like this. But if it is deeper than 40, then it should be only one. Okay guys, this was my video about decompression sickness part 2 for today. I hope you like this video. I hope you found this useful. If you find this useful or you like this video, don't forget to click the like button, and I will see you next time.